Can I clean your house for a plate of food? The billionaire almost didn't hear her. The wind off Lake Ontario was sharp that evening, rattling the tall glass windows of his Toronto mansion. He had just stepped out of his black SUV, distracted by another failed board meeting and a dozen unanswered calls. But the voice, soft, trembling, yet stubbornly brave, cut through the cold air. Sir, please, I can clean. I just need something to eat. He turned, annoyed at first. Strangers rarely made it past the iron gates in this neighborhood. But she stood just outside them, her thin coat far too light for a Canadian November. Snow clung to the ends of her worn boots. She couldn't have been more than 22. And then he saw her face. His breath caught, not because she was dirty or desperate, but because she looked exactly like someone he had lost. Her name was Daniel Carter. At least, that's what the business magazines called him, Canada's self-made tech millionaire. Founder of a cybersecurity empire based in downtown Toronto. The man who once graced the cover of Canadian Business Weekly with a confident smile and the headline, "The man who built an empire from nothing." But nothing was never truly nothing. Daniel grew up in Scarborough, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses in wealthy neighborhoods just like this one. He remembered waiting in cold hallways while she scrubbed marble floors. He remembered hunger. He remembered shame. And he remembered his little sister, Lily. Lily had the same eyes as the girl at his gate. Hazel, wide, gentle, determined. Daniel's throat tightened. Lily had died years ago during a winter when they couldn't afford proper heating. A small infection turned into something worse. Hospitals were slow, money was slower, and grief lasted forever. The girl shifted nervously. I'm sorry, sir. I don't mean to bother you. I've tried everywhere else. Her name was Amara Singh. She had arrived in Canada 8 months earlier from India on a student visa. She had dreamed of studying nursing in Toronto. But when her father fell ill back home, the money meant for her tuition was sent back to pay hospital bills. She worked part-time at a cafe, but the cafe had closed suddenly. Her landlord didn't accept apologies. She hadn't eaten properly in 2 days. Daniel stared at her, frozen between memory and reality. His security guard approached, ready to send her away. It's fine, Daniel said quietly. He walked to the gate himself and opened it. Come inside, he said. Amara hesitated. Pride wrestled with hunger in her chest. But hunger won. The warmth of the house hit her like a hug she hadn't felt in months. The scent of wood polish and fresh bread filled the air. She kept her eyes down, embarrassed by the contrast between her life and his. You said you can clean? Daniel asked gently. Yes, sir. I cleaned houses back home. I'm not afraid of hard work. He nodded slowly. There's food in the kitchen. Eat first. Her eyes widened. I should work first. You'll faint if you work first. That small joke cracked something fragile between them. She gave a faint smile and stepped toward the kitchen. Daniel stood still in the hallway, staring at the family photos on the wall. There was one of him and Lily as children. Lily grinning, missing a front tooth. He hadn't thought about her this vividly in years. In the kitchen, Amara tried to eat slowly, politely, but tears slipped down her cheeks as she tasted warm soup and fresh bread. It wasn't just food, it was relief. It was dignity restored, even for a moment. Daniel watched quietly from the doorway. Why didn't you go to a shelter? He asked. They're full, she whispered. And I kept thinking, if I can just find one kind person. He looked down at his expensive watch, at his spotless marble floors, at the emptiness that echoed in every oversized room. He suddenly felt ashamed. For years, he had donated money to charities across Canada. He funded scholarships. He wrote checks with impressive numbers. But he had never opened his own gate, never looked hunger in the eye. Amara, he said slowly, what are you studying? Nursing, she replied, almost afraid to hope. Or, I was. He took a deep breath. Finish your meal. Tomorrow, you're going back to school. She froze mid-bite. I don't understand. I have a foundation, he said. It funds students in healthcare programs across Ontario. I think we can make room for one more. Her hands trembled. Sir, I can't just accept. You offered to clean my house for food, he interrupted softly. Let me offer you something better. The days that followed changed both of their lives. Amara moved into the small guest suite temporarily while her enrollment was reinstated. She insisted on working part-time in Daniel's foundation office to earn her keep. She was stubborn like that. Daniel found himself laughing again. Cooking simple meals instead of ordering expensive catering. Listening to her stories about clinical practice and long bus rides through snowy Toronto mornings. He realized something painful and beautiful at the same time. He had been building wealth, but not building warmth. Months later, at a charity gala in downtown Toronto, Daniel stood on stage to announce an expansion of his foundation. He paused before speaking. "Tonight," he began, "I want to tell you about the day someone asked me for a plate of food." The room grew quiet. "She reminded me that success means nothing if your gates are always closed. Canada gave my family a second chance when we had nothing. It's time we remember what that means." In the crowd, Amara sat in her nursing student uniform, tears shining in her eyes. Years later, she would graduate at the top of her class. She would work in a Toronto hospital, caring for patients who felt alone, afraid, and forgotten. And every winter, she volunteered at shelters, serving warm meals to those standing outside iron gates. Because she remembered the cold. Because she remembered asking. And because one man, frozen by memory, chose compassion over convenience. Sometimes, the greatest turning point in life doesn't come in boardrooms or bank accounts. It comes in a simple question whispered through the cold. "Can I clean your house for a plate of food?" And the answer you choose to give can change two lives forever.